This is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. And it looks like we got a live stream going. What we're going to cover today is the fact that Iran digitally signed the deal with Trump on Sunday, the 14th of June, and every night since then has been sending attack drones at commercial vessels in the Persian Gulf. And the American warships have been taking them down so they don't hit the ships. How about that? And we're going to talk about the Garden of Eden in the New Testament. It's going to be pretty interesting. Translation issues are going to open things up for you. And we're going to talk about, is Iran really going to show up in Switzerland for the signing of this deal? They have completely closed their airspace. People are looking at the flight trackers over Iran, and there's absolutely nothing flying, no commercial aircraft. That's war mode. So we're going to get into all of this. Let me go into the live stream and take a look at what's going on. And see how our sound's doing. It looks good. And see how our sound's doing. It looks good. Okay, everything here seems to be pumping along here. Muscle spasm. Okay, let me get a post up here real quick. This is gonna probably take seconds. Gonna probably take seconds. Okay, it looks like I'm done. Let me typo check. Okay, I'm done. And pin it. And let me check this here for a second. Looks good. All right. I guess people will be coming in. There's some people here. Okay. I'm being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament. I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so yeah, we're gonna get into what is going on with this ceasefire deal that Trump has orchestrated. The first piece of craziness that's going around is that the Pakistan negotiators asked Trump to keep the entire terms of the deal confidential, not release it for some period of time, a long period of time. So it appears that there are things in this deal that are not being disclosed to us. Okay. And that sounds very ominous. People were calling it a surrender, and Trump came out and said that by doing this, he stopped a global recession. He doesn't realize that what that did was tell the Iranians, don't sign the deal, push harder, you'll get more out of Trump. He doesn't get it. He's dense. Everybody thinks he's so smart. No, he's not. Talk to people in the Middle East. I mean, I don't care if they're Arab or Israeli, they're going to tell you he's not real bright. He doesn't understand what's going on here. He's trying to set the rules as if he was, in a fight with Mexico or a war with Mexico. Where you bomb the Mexicans and you kill their infrastructure. They say, "Okay, we give up." No, it doesn't work that way in Iran. You know, oh, kill our population. They'll be martyrs and go right to paradise. Yeah, this is the problem. And Trump's not. I mean, he'll verbalize it, but he doesn't really know what to do. I'm telling you, he's confused. So we'll get into some details now. And they're not good details, I want to tell you right now. It's a pretty lousy deal. Um, but I got a prayer request in the singular. Let me find it. Okay. Prayer request for SB, Sierra Bravo. I'll pray and true believers can agree, okay? My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for SB, Sierra Bravo. I pray for healing from a rash on the face and eyes. And I pray for less stress and less problems from a business and family situation. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, as a prayer, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. It would be, I would say, make it more stronger, something like that. Okay. Um, Nobody knows if Iran is showing up tomorrow. Now, in Iran, well, right now it's the what is it, the 18th of June, and it's about 8:48 in the morning. It's probably about 10:48 in Iran. I think it's probably 2 hours, maybe 1 hour difference, 9:48, 10:48. I think the Iranians, if they were going to Geneva, would be announcing that their people are flying over there sometime today. Now, the flight from Iran to Geneva is not a long flight. I don't know, 1 or 2 hours, 2 hours probably, or three or something like that. So they would probably be leaving sometime today so they could get a hotel and settle down. They're going to be working in and out of a Qatar owned, I think it's a luxury hotel in Switzerland, not a great big hotel, but they'll probably put the security. I have not heard about um, the Americans going over there, but Trump is running around somewhere in the G7, so I don't think he's far from going to that hotel, and we'll see what happens. Curiously, the plane that Qatar gave him has been completely stripped down so they could make sure there's no traps in it and rebuilt and brought up the standards for an Air Force One, which probably cost more than the 400 million they said when it happened. And it's ready, it's painted and everything ready to go into service. So I don't know why Trump got such a bee in his bonnet that he needed something better than Air Force One. Air Force One is to a good extent more of a utilitarian vehicle or aircraft than it is a luxury, yacht in the sky. Um, it has an area where it carries Secret Service agents and their weapons and equipment, and they have their own separate area. Then it has a large area where they carry news people. I think they could probably carry 30 or 40 at least, maybe 50. They have that area. Then there's an other area for American officials. And then they have the Trump area where there's a conference room. Trump has a stateroom in there with a bed, and I believe he has a shower, and then they have a kitchen, and then they got crew quarters. You know, if the crew's going on a big run, they'll bring two crews, and one crew will sleep, and the others will fly, and then they'll rotate. They may not always do that. I think if you're talking probably more than about an 8 hour trip, they probably rotate the crews, or maybe even because he's Trump, the president, and they might even rotate the crews after 5 or 6 hours when their alertness goes down, or even 4 hours. I don't know. So I'm pretty sure they have a place for an alternate crew. Uh, they're not going to take off with just one pilot. Okay. Now the co-pilot could fly. So, like I say, if he's going to go from Washington D.C. to Texas, they're probably just going to go with one pilot and one co-pilot, and a navigator, or that's it. Um, one could take over if the other one is in trouble. I imagine that's what they'll do. Uh, Maybe they always carry an extra crew in case something goes wrong. I have no idea. But I think Trump probably wanted to incorporate more luxury features into it. I'm rather sure that the president's area where he could isolate himself from the rest of the people on the flight, is probably rather comfortable. It probably has a chair that reclines that probably costs $10,000. I'm sure it reclines electrically or something, and it's probably pretty plush, and he's probably got a nice big screen. But I don't know. It wasn't nice enough for Trump, so he's taken this route. Uh, I'm not sure that Trump would have taken this plane and built a large area for the news. He might only, because he's always talking fake news, he might have only put 10 or 12 chairs in there for news people. Secret Service is mandatory, other government officials is mandatory. You got to have room for them. So he could have knocked out the amount of space for the news reporters. I don't know. His official Air Force One, the new one, is going to be ready before he leaves office, I believe. But, with a deadline, he may not make it. And prophetically, I don't believe he'll ever see that plane. But, I don't know what that one has. I don't think any of us do. I've never heard of an aircraft having a jacuzzi put in, because the water would go flying all over the place and wreck the carpet. And it wouldn't cause the plane to sink or anything like that. It could possibly cause electrical issue, but probably not. But they don't do it. The shower's easy because it's an enclosed area. It's sealed in, and it probably has a lip of 2 inches or something, and the water comes out from a spritzer, you know, and it goes right down into a drain. So it's not going to cause any major catastrophe of, if they hit turbulence or stuff like that. The drain probably has a trap so the water can't splash out of it or anything like that. Um, I've also never heard of a bathtub in a plane. Not to say that some jerk never tried it. It could have happened. Somebody might have wanted to sit in a bathtub and look out the window while they're flying in a hot tub and read, or through email or something like that. So somebody might have done that, but a bathtub doesn't have anywhere near the amount of water of a jacuzzi. And they could have made a jacuzzi bathtub, but I doubt it. I think people would go more for a massaging chair on the plane if FAA lets them have it, which they might not have. They might not let them have it. I don't know. Okay, so there's no indication whatsoever in a strong way that the deal is going to be signed in Switzerland. The Iranians did state that they did sign digitally on the 14th of June. There are rumors at this point or rumblings that the IRGC people are very, very displeased with this deal. And they could be the ones launching drones every night since they signed it on Sunday, the 14th. They've been sending drones to attack commercial shipping in the Persian Gulf, probably the Straits of Hormuz area specifically, since then, every night. And American warships have taken them down every night. So the political people, not the IRGC uniform wearing characters, could be telling Trump, there's nothing we could do about it. This is the IRGC doing this and blah, 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 blah. And we don't know what that could be a lie just to humble America, you know? They basically got Trump to surrender. I'm not especially thinking Trump did it to avoid a global recession. I do not think it was going to be so much of a global, well, it might have been a recession, not a depression. If Iran managed to blow up the oil fields and refineries of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, yes, some oil prices would have gotten minimally into the 120, 140. And yeah, it would have caused some recession. Inflation is what would have happened. But I think he was um, not ready to go to war because he had been getting served a lot of tossed salad and whole enchiladas, and he didn't want to be in a war without his counselors, the powers of the air. Uh, he had a lot of problems from that. And I think that's what scared him. So he didn't want to have a war because he didn't understand what was going on. Okay. You know, don't think he's that great. Okay. If he was, and he was a great art of the deal guy, he wouldn't have gotten America and Israel and the whole world into a moron deal with Iran, which is what he did. It's basically a moronic deal. I'll go through the details with you of what we know about it, and it's a moronic deal. I'm against Likud and anything to do with Netanyahu. I refer to Netanyahu as the curse of Israel, a curse on Israel. He's terrible. The Friday ceremony was canceled. As little as a half hour or an hour ago, I couldn't get a confirmation on that. Yeah, you're saying that the digital signatures happened and there's no ceremony. Yeah, that's bad. No ceremony is not just a lightweight thing. Um, and the drone attack drones coming every night at civilian warship, civilian ocean going vessels is really not a sign of a deal. Can you dig that? I mean, how could that be that something's really going on? Do you think Trump signed a deal with Iran that said thou shalt be able to launch drones at civilian vessels anytime you feel the need to? It's okay. Don't worry about it. No. So they're not heeding by it, obviously, right? I haven't heard them apologize for it or nothing. And it's been in the major news channels that it happened. It happened every day during the week since they signed. So it's no secret. Okay. All right. Let's get into some more details here. The Iranians did acknowledge that they did do a digital signature. Okay. Surprise to me, but they did. But I would say there's not really a deal. Okay, let's go. So they're saying that every night they've been launching drones at commercial vessels, and the Americans acknowledging this and saying that they've been taking these drones down with 100% success. Well, no anti-missile system is 100%. They launch enough drones, they're going to hit a ship. Um, on June 14th, when Iran digitally signed the deal, I want you to know that they closed their airspace. They closed their airspace. You got that? That's documented. There's nobody talking about no, maybe yes, maybe no. And they've completely, as of a few hours ago, their airspace is completely vacant. That's war mode. They expect America to attack them. And they want to be able to fling missiles up in the air without hitting a plane. So the skies over Iran right now are dead, bare bones, empty. Nothing going on up there. Um, let me read this to you. Let's see. As of right now, the skies are empty. Real time flight tracking data shows zero commercial transit crossings over Iran. That's a nice way of saying there's no civilian aircraft over Iran. Okay. Um, Global rerouting major international carriers traveling between Europe, India, and Southeast Asia are actively bypassing the country entirely. That means they're not going through the Persian Gulf. Maersk, Maersk, a very large shipping ocean going vessels, huge company, maybe the number one, said they don't trust the ceasefire and they didn't use those words. They say they're not going through the Persian Gulf. They're not going to do it. I mean, they didn't give a good explanation, but obviously they don't have any confidence in this so-called deal. And they're taking long detours instead. I have not heard of the Houthis firing on any ships yet, or I should just say maybe not yet. I haven't, they're not doing it right now. So can that change? Yep. No reopening date because the closure was tied to a breakdown in diplomatic ceasefire talks and the subsequent high alert military stance authorities have not published an expiration time for the restrictions. The airspace is treated as an active conflict zone and will remain dark until formal de escalation agreement is reached. So, Iran will try to blame this on Israel. Iran wants to see a break between Israel and America. And I don't think Trump is smart enough to work around it. He's crude. He's like a bull in a china shop at times. Let's see what this is, guys, in a second. What it is nothing. Okay. Let's go into some of what the deal said. We don't know all the details because there are apparently clauses in there that are not going to be disclosed anytime soon. We do not know what they are. Okay. One of the things that happened in the deal was all the frozen money was supposed to go back to Iran when they signed. Iran signed Sunday. They might have already and probably already got their hands on $100 billion of frozen money. So Iran is well heeled right now. That's a lot of money. That means they could send, 50, $100 million easily to Hezbollah, try to feed millions into Hamas and give millions to the Houthis and spend a lot of money buying radar and ground to air defense systems from China that was destroyed. Only this time, try to figure out a way to do it where it's not going to be destroyed so easily. And they are going to, of course, try to buy missiles from China and Russia. They might try to buy a big warship from somebody, a modern warship. If they get just two of those modern warships and put them in the Straits of Hormuz, it'll be a nightmare for America. The deal says this: Israel will stop fighting in Lebanon, pull out of South Lebanon. There'll be no war with Lebanon. And Israel said that we're not going to comply with this. We're not bound by any deal Trump wrote with Iran, and we're not pulling out of South Lebanon. And I believe that this is what Iran is rallying on. They are going to say, we thought that you were going to take care of Israel, and we signed on Sunday. And then on Monday or Tuesday, Trump and Netanyahu announces he's not going to pull out of Lebanon, South Lebanon. They want Israel vulnerable to an attack from Hezbollah to keep us on edge so we don't just have Netanyahu wake up one morning and send 50 planes over there and start wiping out the power structure and everything else of Iran. Okay. What they used to have was Bashar Assad in Syria. They no longer have Syria. They had some stooge in Iraq that was playing puppet to them. He's gone. Okay. Hamas can no longer shoot missiles. They're gone. The Houthis can shoot missiles, but they would rarely ever land. And they get taken down and they can't shoot very many at a day, usually 2 or 4 or something. And drones don't work from them. And then you have Hezbollah, their last hope of a real functioning proxy that could threaten Israel. And Netanyahu wants to bring them down to nothing. And that the Iranians are afraid of, because then if the Houthis attack Israel, Netanyahu's just going to can just say, "Listen, they attacked us. We'll go down there and drop some bombs, but we're going to attack the head of the snake, which is Iran." Um, Trump is mad at Netanyahu. He's going to tell Netanyahu that he's a moron because he's going to cause a global recession, and Netanyahu is going to basically say, "Yeah, so you don't give a hoot how many missiles we take." Apparently, there's no noticeable restriction on any missiles. Okay, it was immediate sanction relief, and Iran gets all the money that's frozen, which is about 100 billion, and I believe that is at signing, so they probably have all the money. So they don't care about this deal anymore. They rip Trump off for the money. They're making a monkey out of Trump. Iran gave up nothing except they say they're going to open the Persian Gulf. But is your idea of opening the Persian Gulf shooting drones at commercial shipping every night? Not my idea. Uh, and they'll say that they're not going to make any nuclear weapons. But they're going to have the ability to make civilian low grade uranium. But they're going to lie about that like they always have, and just make high grade and not let the UN inspectors in and stuff like that. That's all they're going to do. Trump said he needed to do this to stop a global recession. Trump did the perfect, rotten, stinking job that Obama, Biden, and all the other idiots before them do. He's no different. He just acts and talks a little different. He did the tariffs. Remember the tariffs? 50%, 100% on China and all that, right? Remember that? He cut that out, but you pay those tariffs. To punish the nations, he eliminated a $800 customs tax exemption. So, in other words, if you were having a package from AliExpress or something like that come in for $799, you didn't get taxed on it. So now, to punish the nations, Trump took that away. So if you order something from overseas, even if it's $20, you got to pay a tax on it, and you got to pay customs clearing services and fees. He's taxing the people, and the people buy it. They believe him. They think he's good. It's terrible. Where's your stimulus package money that was supposed to come in the spring? Gee, he just stopped talking about it. The Iranians got money. They got control of the Persian Gulf with Oman. Although it's said they won't charge a toll, I don't believe that. They will, because they know Trump is weak and they're going to wipe their feet on Trump. And this is not going to end until somebody wipes out Iran. Or if the people of the world decide to just go to Sharia law and respect and honor Iran like a legitimate, powerful country, they'll leave you alone. But you better be into Shiite martial law, or civil law, whatever it is, their law, Sharia. And Trump signs a deal where the people of America don't know everything that's in the deal. Gee, he's actually worse than the other bumps that America had, you know? That's going further than the other lousy leaders ever went. Um, and this whole thing was just to get Iran into a 60-day period of time to negotiate a permanent ceasefire, which they're never going to do. They're going to go sit there and say, well, we're not talking about nuclear, change the subject. Oh, we're not talking about ballistic missiles, change the subject. They're not going to do anything. At the 60-day mark, there'll be no, if it ever goes that far, which I don't think, they'll never have it resolved in 60 days. They'll extend it. I imagine Iran will easily get an extra 60 days out of Trump, probably 90. All right. Now, remember, with Lebanon, Hezbollah has not signed any agreement with Israel or Iran. So if this gets forced down Netanyahu's throat, I doubt it. What it would look like is Hezbollah would move back into the south of Israel with missiles and anti-tank rockets, terrorizing or putting a terror threat on all the Israelis that live by the border, Metula, Kiryat Shmona, those places. Okay, and they'll start rumors of doing another October 7th, and we'll have to keep troops there, and the troops will be in danger, and all this. And if that happens, and there is no more fighting, then the Supreme Court, the High Court of Israel, more literally, will tell Netanyahu to show up for his criminal court dates and start testifying. That will push his trial to conclusion, and then he can be sentenced. He won't do that. He'll turn on Trump. Trump doesn't care about him. Trump throw him under the bus. He doesn't care. Trump will want to get rid of him. Trump knows what's going on. He's going to sit there and say, well, Netanyahu doesn't want to stop the wars because of his stupid criminal cases. So he's going to keep the whole world in a global recession for his stupid. He's so stupid he can't find a way to get money under the table without getting caught. I don't need Trump. I don't need Netanyahu anymore. Let him go. But Israel is turning against America now. The sentiment is very anti Trump, extremely. They see Trump as a treacherous piece of garbage now that doesn't give a hoot about Israel. They finally see it clearly. Trump's got a problem with the, Jewish lobby, but that's not a problem for years to go. Trump doesn't want to see this global recession, he says, although I don't think he cares about that. He knew about that from the get-go because they was getting warned that the Iranians would light up the region, including the oil-producing countries in the region. He knew that going in. He didn't care. He is afraid of the tossed salad and the whole enchilada, and he doesn't know what to do, and it scares the daylights out of him. So he'll go out and attack for a few hours and then stop. Okay. If Trump stops the war, I would say there's probably a 90% chance he goes to jail. Trump tried to get Herzog to pardon him, and Herzog wouldn't do it. So I don't think Herzog's going to do it now. And Trump was even talking about putting sanctions on Herzog. Trump let three Iranian tankers go out of out of the Persian Gulf for the first time in months, and they went right to China. Should we think that Trump got scared because China said that he was going to go to war and help Iran and all that? No, 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 no. Don't go there. That's not what happened. Iran said they added two senior psychologists to their negotiating team to analyze Trump's behavior. Well, I don't know why Trump wasn't going to the negotiations. So that sounds a little weird, but okay. Um, Now I don't know how true. Well, this is okay. Hold on. If the psychologist thing was true or not true, I don't give it much credit because Trump wasn't physically at the negotiations. So what would be the point of it? They'd have to watch his body language, and they could just listen to him by reading his statements and listening to him. But by maybe there was because Trump would be talking to Witkoff and Kushner, and they maybe would be reflecting what Trump just told them, maybe. So they might get somewhere that way. So millions of barrels of oil are already on their way to China. Okay. So um, Trump is being made a monkey of with every night drones flying. It's a joke. He's saying that the deal permanently prevents Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Oh, give me a break. Only if they want to listen to the agreement. They're in a ceasefire with Trump and they're firing drones at shipping every night. Do you think they're really going to abide by the ceasefire? Uh huh. People are pressing Trump to explain how this is permanently going to work. And it's not. I believe France agreed to this already and lifted sanctions. He's saying it's permanently. He's saying, when I say permanently, yeah, okay, we're going to believe that now, Trump. It should be permanently, but if it's not permanently, we will bomb them, Trump says during a press conference. Oh, please, Trump. Do you know how many times we hear that from you? You bomb and then you run away scared because you're afraid of retaliation or something. He says, that's with me as president. If you have a weak, pathetic president, maybe that doesn't happen. He he adds, admitting that he cannot control what will happen after his term in office ends. Obama only flew $1 billion of money over to Iran on an airplane. This guy just released 100 billion of their money grabbed by sanctions. Okay, and he's telling us how bad Obama was. Okay, Trump says Netanyahu gets a little excited sometimes as he acknowledges dispute over Lebanon fighting. Thousands of ultra, okay, that's what he said. In addition, just for some Israeli news, thousands of the Haredi ultra Orthodox men gathered outside the military prison to protest arrests of the draft evaders. Uh, in addition, Israeli police were using batons, that's a nightstick, and stun grenades to stop the Haredi from protesting and closing key roads, highways in Israel as part of their protests. So uh, people are getting a little sick and tired of them, um, and their patience is wearing thin. So Netanyahu's not speaking about the Haredi. He's behind this um, by supporting those jerks. So, that's the deal. Let me see. Let me check the live stream and then I'm going to go in and check again and see if we got any updates. On the Israel social media, we could get updates rather quickly and they'll tell us if anything's cooking with tomorrow in Switzerland. Um, I'm having trouble with this thing here. Okay, let's see. Uh, there is obviously a separate civil government and IRTC. Yeah, this could be fighting amongst them. This is of course acknowledged, but it could lead to an overthrow of the government of Iran. That could be true, but I mean, you didn't say that. I said that, but I no science yet. Trump went from no enrichment to a little to no ballistic missiles to some. Looks like he got got a new war looming around. Yeah, in the letters of every words from the Trump. The Israeli government is certainly not nice to us that live here. They tax us into the ground. They do some things good. There really is no difference if the iPad's this way or the other way. It doesn't. The iPad doesn't care. Oh. There really isn't an upside down to it that makes a difference. Okay, so let me take a quick look and see if we get any updates. The Israeli social media that I use is pretty good, and they get a lot of it from the Arabs. Okay, let's see. Um, oh, I got something here. Let me read it. unless it's in Arabic, which it is. So I ain't reading it in Arabic. Let's see what we're gonna do about this. I don't know. There's talk now that the Khomeini will sign the deal if Trump gives him a security umbrella. I have no idea what that is. It's being called in Israel the American Surrender Agreement. That's not exactly true. Trump could have just left, you know, just move out, you know. Whoa, 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 this stinking iPad piece of junk. Let me get it back. Okay, again, more problems with it. All right, no, I think I got it. Okay. Um, I'm picking up that there is no signing ceremony in Switzerland. That's off the table. Uh, some of the things that I'm picking up that happened, which is coming from Iranian leaks, there will be no discussion about Iran defensive capabilities on any route or side. Iran will not send enriched uranium outside Iran, and the accepted option is to reduce enriched uranium within the country. So they're trying to tell Trump, oh, we're not giving it away, but we'll reduce it. Don't worry, you can trust us. You know, you could almost start calling Trump the chump. What do we get? We get more here. There isn't enough explosive material in the world to flatten the mess. At least that's what the commander of the IDF's target bank claims. All right, I don't know. I'm looking for facts, not commentaries. stinking iPad problems. All right. Let's see. Iran may, following Israel's attacks in Lebanon, act in a surprise attack on Israel without prior warning. Well, yeah, they're not afraid of what Trump's going to do. Trump's going to yell and scream. That's about it. And threaten. Poor Trump wants his Nobel Peace Prize so bad. Oh. I think Obama got some of those, one or two or something. I don't know. See if I'm picking it up anywhere else. I'll be done doing this in a minute. Uh, and I haven't seen, the only thing I'm picking up is there is no Switzerland. So we're not hearing talk about that in the news today. You're not hearing, well, Kushner and Witkoff went to Switzerland with Hegseth and Vance. No. And apparently nobody went to Switzerland. Looking at, I'm not seeing anything here. I want to go one other place and see. I think this is it, and it looks like Trump is probably gonna just take what he can get and hope for the best. And he's gonna be very sorry. You don't hope for the best with Iran. Very big mistake. It will come back on his head. All right. So we're going to have a problem with America because Netanyahu is not going to go with the program. And the fact that Trump's not talking about it and Netanyahu's not talking about it, it means it's not going to go the way Trump wants it to go. Netanyahu is not going to pull out of Lebanon. He's not stupid enough to do that because he's going to go to jail if he does. So he's going to fight Trump tooth and nail. And if Rubio and Hegseth start acting like friends of Israel, they're going to get fired. See, the way a guy like Trump works is everybody around him is exploited. He uses them as long as they could help him make money or in the White House get ahead. Okay. If they can't do that, then they're not useful to him anymore. He gets rid of them. Okay. He just fires them and he gets another one in. And if the other one can help him and support him and be good to him, he keeps him. If the other one tries their hardest but can't accomplish it, oh no, Trump is merciless, kicks him out and gets another one. He's not using, he doesn't want people that try hard. He wants people that succeed only. Okay. So he gets rid of them. Okay. So if now you got the phenomenon of people that are effective and do well, but oppose him in his pursuit of his own presidential policies, what happens then? He fires them. Even though they're good at the job, they're not on board with his policies. So he throws them out of office. He can do that. It's his right. It's a job. He gets them into office. He can throw them out of office, and he does, and he will. And that would affect Rubio and Hegseth. They go out in the street. He just throws them away. What happens to these guys when they get tossed out? Well, what happens? They usually manage to land on their feet. Um, what does that mean? Well, they can get jobs at universities if they want to go low key. The other thing they could do is work for think tank consulting companies, stuff like that. They could get seats on the board of directors of companies that sell various products overseas, usually defense related, to exploit their connections for a few years. So, a radar company, missiles, drones, stuff like that. And their connections would be good for probably the end of Trump's office term, something like that. So they might give him $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year to be on the board of directors. He doesn't really have a job. Um, he would occasionally go to meetings. He would be getting a lot of phone calls from the people in the company about who to approach, when, and how. And he'd make connections for them and stuff like that. That's all he would do. But he could sit on 4 or 5 companies at the same time. So he makes some money. He could also go through speeches and get $100,000, $200,000 a speech, write a book, which will say nothing, but stupid people think that he'll reveal things in the book. Never. Um, could work for a state or a city or a county. Some of them do that, not too often. Or he might have enough money tucked away from his income during the time in office, where I mean he could have. I'm talking corruption, and I can't prove it. I don't know for sure, but I suspect that it may be in the amount of $50-100 million already, and it doesn't have to work. So he just goes and gets a job, writes a book of fluff, makes a few $1,000,000 maybe. I don't know, whatever, does whatever he wants to do, go fishing, go hunting, go sailing, go skiing, go surfing. I don't know what the guy want to do. Trump wouldn't care what he does as long as he doesn't get into politics. You know, if he wants to help with weapons sales, Trump doesn't care about that. Marco Rubio is actually a contender to be president when Trump, will Trump, well, prophetically, you're never going to see this, I don't think, but in 2028, would Trump run again, get Congress to give him permission to run and have a third term? I don't see it. Trump's out. Would Vance be able to run? Yeah, he'd be able to run. I don't think Vance could hold up against Rubio. I think Rubio would be the contender. I think Vance would lose, and they know that. So they'd run Rubio. Yeah, it's a mess. Trump's in a mess. I don't think he has a deal. I think Trump thinks he has a deal. And Iran signed it because they wanted to get some ships of oil out and they wanted to get their $100 billion. Look, they got 3 ships out. If the ships were super tankers, let's run some numbers, okay? They probably were super tankers. A super tanker could go up to 3 million barrels. Let's say 2 million, right? 2 million barrels. Okay, times 3, because you got 6 ships. You got 6 million barrels out, right? And they might have got more out now, or they're going to be getting more out in the short term. So you got 6 million barrels times, let's just say $80. That's a $500 million, $480 million. Okay. And let's say they do that every week. That adds up, right? And then they keep attacking the ships with drones. What does that mean? Well, it means oil prices are going to stay high. Let's check oil prices. We'll go to oilprices.com. That's where I go for that. Oops, typo. Let me just do it by voice. Oilprices.com. What? Some scam site? What's going on? Oh, it's crude oil. Okay, I got it. It's oilprice.com. That's my mistake. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, the oil went down again. 74.86 in the US. The WTI, the Brent is 77. Yeah. Trump's getting it down. Let's see how far down it goes. There's people running around saying, oh, the reserves are gone because the bottoms of the tanks of the reserves are full of sludge and junk and paraffin and we can't do anything with it. Yeah, let's see. I'm not so sure. Let's see what happens. Um, let's see what happens with that. I don't know if that's true. That could be just rumor mill. Okay, let's go to the Bible, and I'll try to be explaining stuff as I go. And my wife actually alerted me to this, and I decided to dig into it. She had already dug into it somewhat. Okay. What we're going to talk about is a guy named Salkinson and his 1885 Hebrew New Testament that's put into classic biblical Hebrew. And it was later edited by a churchianity kind of goofball named Ginsburg. Um, but Salkinson actually worked the translation. Um, I told you many times how he did it. He took the Greek from the New Testament and went to the Septuagint, saw what Hebrew word that Greek word replaced, then took that Hebrew word and replaced the Greek word in the New Testament with the Hebrew word. Pretty clever, pretty good way of doing things, no doubt about it. Um, so the Hebrew text in Salkinson Ginsburg, um, and I'm going to be giving you a rather shocking translation, and I'm aware of that. Okay. But we're going to also deal with it. All right. So let me get the right verse here. What happened to my notes for what I might have lost my notes, but I'll bring them back. Don't worry. All right, I got to go back into where I had my original notes. For some reason, they got messed up, but I could find it. Or I'll just get it back. I'll redo it. I'll get it. Don't worry. All right. And we don't want to use the King James. Well, I'll do the King James. Luke 23:42. And he said unto Yeshua, right? It says Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. This is Yeshua hanging on the stake or the pole. And the guy next to him says this, remember me when you come into your kingdom. The next verse, Luke 23:43. And the King James says, and Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Okay, now let's go into what it should really say. Paradise is paradiso in the Greek, because the text, the Codex Sinaiticus, the old one from 400 AD, was written in scripto continua, all capitals, letters, um, with no spaces or punctuation between words. It appears as if the manuscript on the line says, that's Greek. I can't read the Greek anymore. Textual uh, breakdown. The manuscript. I'm going to give you the real deep dig in this, okay? Because it's a real major thing. The full phase at the end of the verse reads, and it gives me the Greek, and then uh, it says the English would be in the paradise paradiso. Um, Appearing, the noun appears here in the dative singular form following the preposition. Okay. Um, Now we're going to talk about how Salkinson did this with the Hebrew. The Hebrew text that Salkinson used, that he made, reads like this. Well, I could read it in Hebrew. Well, Amen, Omer, Ani, Lisha, Hayom, uh, Taya, Imadi, Began, Eden. Okay. Let's go to the English. I'm reading transliterated Hebrew, not Hebrew. I don't know how to pronounce all the transliterated. I could do the Hebrew better, but okay. Verily I say unto thee, today you shall be with me in the Garden of Eden. Whoa. He's right. Let me develop this. Why Salkinson undertook this way. Linguistic, the linguistic rather equivalence of the Greek word blah 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 in Greek paradisios was originally a Persian uh, loan word. They borrowed it from Persian. Hebrew does that, meaning an enclosed park or orchard. Okay, meaning an enclosed park. That's what the word really means. And I'm going to take a break and we're going to go deeper into this. And then we're going to get into Revelation in New Jerusalem. It's going to be a good one. I'll be right back. The Garden of Eden. Imagine this. Now, these church scholars have known this for quite a while. Why don't they teach it? Well, answer that yourself, because if I answer it, you don't like me anymore. Okay. When the Hebrew Bible was translated into Greek with the Septuagint, the Jewish translators used it has a Greek word specifically to translate the Hebrew expression, which takes us back to Gan Eden in Genesis. Gan means garden, Eden means Eden. Because Salkinson was translating the New Testament back into high literary biblical Hebrew, not doing a piece of junk job for a Jewish audience, using Gan Eden was the most natural text, faithful to be a faithful translation. They would use in English, it would be for the righteous intermediate state of paradise. Now we'll get the plot thicker. Another major Hebrew New Testament, translated in the 1800s by a guy named Delitzsch, also translated it exactly the same way, Gan Eden. So what we're getting to here is Yeshua didn't really say, today you'll be with me in paradise. He said, today you'll be with me in Gan Eden, Garden of Eden. Did Yeshua say he goes to prepare a place for you? Of course he did. When Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, did it have a lot of houses? No. No, there was no houses there. Once Yeshua arranged the salvation for everybody, then when he went back to heaven, he was building the places. Mansions, he calls them. Okay, now we're going to go into Revelation and take this deeper. Now we're going to go to Revelation 22, verse 2, and Revelation 22, verse 14. From the Hebrew New Testament. This is from Delich now. Revelation 22, verse 2. In the midst of its street, and on this side of the river, and on the other side, the tree of life, bearing 12 fruits, yielding its fruit month by month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations, the heathens. The word is etz hachaya, the kayim, life in the plural, the life, and the etz is the tree. So it's a tree of life, life in the plural. You can say, I guess. We don't have a real plural in English. If you said lives, it would be a different meaning, you know? He uses the right word for month, Kodesh. Now let's look at Salkinson. Be a little different here, might be a little bit of a shock, a small shocker. And in the midst of the market street of the city. So, why would we think that there should not be a market in the city of New Jerusalem? You're going to be there for 1,000 years. Now, maybe it's not the kind of market where you pay to get things. Maybe you just get things. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he took too much liberty with the translation. I don't know. Maybe it's a street that's like a market, more like a plaza or a big where lots of people go and walk. I don't know. Market Street of the city on the bank of the river, from here and from there, is the tree of life, which makes 12 yields of fruit, giving its fruit in every single month. And the leaves of the tree are for the medicine of the Goyim. Wow. Now, this tree could be wide, like we don't know from. Okay. It might be a mile wide or something. I don't know. The place is 1,500 miles by 1,500 miles, 1,500 miles up, as best as we could tell. So, yeah, you might have a tree that's a mile or 2 or 3 miles wide that goes up, uh, 2,000 feet. I don't know. Or it might be 200 feet wide, well, the river got to go through it, and the river might be 200 feet wide, or it might be the size of something like a Hudson River, where it's 1 or 2 miles across, or 3 miles, and it could be, a 3, 4 mile wide river tree. I don't know. It's been around a long time. So the river is a river of life. You drink that water, you get everlasting, not everlasting, you get eternal life. There's no death in New Jerusalem. You eat of the tree of life, you have no death. You eat from the leaves, that's another story. And that has healing for them. I don't believe it gives them eternal life. And that's goes to the ones outside the gates. So when you go back to New Jerusalem, it had the tree of life and it had some kind of river. So it's New Jerusalem. It wasn't called New Jerusalem, but it evolved into New Jerusalem. And if Adam and Eve would have watched themselves, they would be there to this day, and we would be there with them. But because they sinned, they brought into everything corruption in the flesh. Okay. So Yeshua fixed all that. So after Yeshua fixed it, he led captivity captive, which means he took them from the place where they were in Abraham's bosom. So to get that straight, we go back to the parable of the rich guy and the poor guy. And the poor guy, the beggar, was put outside the gate of the rich man's house to eat the crumbs that fell off his table. So probably the servants scooped the stuff up and went and fed it to him, and the dogs would lick his sores. He was poor, and he wasn't walking, but he had faith, apparently. And he wound up, when he died, in Abraham's bosom. And the rich guy, who was also a Hebrew, an Israelite, wound up in the bad place. The rich guy, Abraham spoke to him and said, "Hey, my son," so he was of the tribes. When you were over there, you had lots of riches, and Lazarus, that's the beggar, had nothing. They had little. So now he has much, and you have little. See, that's how it works. But try to convince a Satan bot about that. Try to convince Trump about that. Okay, so he can't. It'd be impossible, I think, or close to it. I don't know, unless he was really scheduled to be the elect, which I doubt. But Paul became the elect. Could you imagine having Trump's not going to be the elect? I don't see it. Okay, all right, let's move along. I'm not trying to make a case for that because I don't believe it. Let's move along. It could happen, but I wouldn't plan on it. That's me personally. I don't plan on it. Anything's possible with the Lord. All right. So he's in the good place with Abraham's bosom, which was a type of paradise. And in that heat, in that flame over there, which is not the lake of fire, it was what you call Gehenna, hell, or the pit. Okay, he said, Father Abraham, send Lazarus over here so he could dip his finger in water and put a drop on my tongue because of the flame of the fire over where he is. And then Abraham said to him, no, we can't cross to you, and you can't cross over to us. So what do I think happens? I think happens. We don't have all the scriptures for it. Yeshua led captivity captive. When he got killed, he went down into the earth, the 3-day period where his body was sitting in the tomb. Okay. He went down into the earth and he preached to them and he led captivity captive. Okay. The others became prisoners of hope. So the ones that he led captivity captive, he took them from Abraham's bosom, which we no longer read about, to, I would say now, it took them to the Garden of Eden. Sure, I think that's what it's starting to look like. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he just took him to heaven and the Garden of Eden was still there. I don't know. Because then when he brings the Garden of Eden down, I don't believe that he brings all the deceased saved people down with him and empties heaven of them. But maybe he does, because there's scriptures where they're on, Mount Zion with Yeshua. I mean, I maybe they're there. Maybe Yeshua does bring them down with him, and they're in New Jerusalem. I have to work on this, but we don't have a lot of direct, plain scriptures. We got to work through it. But when they're on Mount Zion with Yeshua, they're virgins. Maybe they're the saved, the elect that come down. And maybe when it says the graves will open and they'll rise, maybe they have spiritual bodies. And then at the very end of everything, the graves open, they get their body back, and then they get on the clouds and go up to New Jerusalem. Like, let's explain. Yeshua's body was separate, it was sitting in the tomb. Yes, of course. He, in his spiritual form, went down to Gehenna and was preaching to him, led captivity captive. Well, he also brought him to be with it. They presented him to his father when he came up. Okay, and I think his father cleansed him. Maybe from being in the pit or something. I don't know. Preaching to them in the pit sounds about right. I don't know what happened, but I don't have all the details. None of us do. Okay, so he preached to them, which would be the dry bones. Some of them would be the dry bones. Not everybody in hell would be the dry bones. The Israelites were the dry bones because God covered their eyes and stopped up their ears lest they turn to him and get healed. So some of them would be the dry bones, not every one of them, okay? And they would come back when Yeshua appears in the clouds, I believe. Maybe they come back when Yeshua appears, but you see, it says they come to Israel. They don't come to New Jerusalem. So I think the dry bones come back with flesh bodies. See, the ones that are on Mount Zion with him that are all virgins, that's different, I think. These are coming back with a flesh body because he puts cartilage on them, bones, and skin. This is deep, okay? If you want to talk about very complicated Bible studies, you're here right now. This is really super complicated, okay? So but if you pray, the Lord will quicken it to you. So they come back and they probably come to Israel after Yeshua's appearing. That's how I see that, okay? And they'll have everlasting life, but not eternity, and they'll be tested just like everybody else will, and they'll fall away. Although I don't see us falling away. It's hard for me to imagine those of us that have gone through all this stuff going out and worshiping the sun and worshiping the demons. I mean, why would anybody want to do that? I mean, okay. But so when it says their graves are opening, well, their spirits could be in New Jerusalem and they get united with their bodies. So remember, Yeshua's body was in the tomb, and when he finished what he had to do down below, and he'd been with God the Father who cleansed him, I believe, or maybe not, because he tells the disciples, "Don't touch me, I haven't been with my Father yet," something like this. So anyway, he comes back into his body. Maybe he never went up to heaven. Maybe he just went down into the pit. And then he comes back and he gets into his body and then walks out of the tomb, changes his clothes. Either him or the angels push the big rock away. And the angels are sitting there telling him, "Don't worry, well, he's gone. He's gone." No, no, he's okay. So that's maybe they weren't angels. Maybe they were the two witnesses, or maybe they were angels. I don't know. So that's what happened. Okay. And so that could be what occurs. There's a period of time where Yeshua was without a human body. Well, these people coming into New Jerusalem might be without a human body and stay there for the millennium, and then their body rises up from the earth. They get their body and they go back up to heaven and to be with the Father God Jehovah. And that's pretty much what happened to Yeshua. His spirit came up from the downstairs and got back in his body. What's so mysterious? We know this works. This is a model we saw work with Yeshua. Are you going to hear this on Sunday from 9 in the morning to 11 in the buildings? No, no, you're not going to hear it. So this is a very, very phenomenal thing. My wife and I, for years, knew that because we talked about it years ago, that New Jerusalem had the tree of life, and therefore it was highly likely that Gan Eden, which is Hebrew for Garden of Eden, is New Jerusalem. So there's people that'll tell you in Israel where Gan Eden is in Israel. It's not in Israel. Okay. When he got kicked out of Gan Eden, he probably went to the regular earth. Adam and Eve, they went to the regular earth. Okay. They were walking around Gan Eden and they didn't know they were naked and they were having light emanate from them. Arise, shine, your illumination has come. Your light, you're emanating light like Moses did when he came down from Mount Sinai, was probably with the glory of God of Israel. I don't think he was with Yeshua. And he was emanating forth light. Okay. And that's how they were, so that nobody would see their nakedness. Then when they sinned, they realized they were naked because the light stopped. Sin. And this jackass Satan introduced all this sin. And that's why the angel said, "Oh, what have you done? What have you done?" He put it in the lineage. All Eve had to do was say, Lord, I'm confused. He's telling me I could eat this tree, and you told me not to. Help me. I don't know what's going on. And that never would have happened. Satan would have got clobbered, and God would have patted Eve on the head and said, You're a good girl. Everything's okay. I love you. We're doing fine, you know? And that would have been the end of that. And then she never would have brought it over to Adam, and that would have been it. Nope. She went for it. Then God said, Let's get him out of here before they eat of the tree of life and live forever and be one like us. So when you eat of the tree of life in New Jerusalem, there's no death because you live forever. So only the people in New Jerusalem are going to get to do that. The ones that are evil aren't going to get to eat that. Okay? And that's why there's an angel at every one of the 12 gates of New Jerusalem, each gate named after one of the 12 tribes. And that's why when you read Ezekiel 47, the last three verses, you realize that you, as a non Israelite, are merged into the tribe of Israel that you travel to Israel in this next great exodus with. You become a member of that tribe, and then you get an equal inheritance with the land. And since you remember that tribe in the eyes of God, you walk through that gate guarded by an angel made out of a giant pearl for Naphtali or Asher or whatever tribe you're in. That's the gate you use. You're legit. Okay. You got credentials. You can go in. Okay. Do people go in and then go out? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you're one of the elect and you're in New Jerusalem, do you go out? I guess you're probably not restricted from going out. I don't know. See, there's a lot of stuff we don't know yet. Okay, we even don't know a whole lot about Zechariah 12. We know enough. See, you get to know enough, but we're going to go into what you could call a different cycle or a different phase real soon. Okay, with the everlasting life. But before then, there's going to be Elijah, probably Apostle John, Enoch, and there'll be a tabernacle, and the tabernacle, for all we know, may have a Hebrew manuscript there. I don't know. So if we trace the Greek word back for paradiso, its root comes from a closed garden, and that when you read closed garden and you read tree of life, Garden of Eden, Garden of Eden. Gone is Garden of Eden. Now, the word gone is a very funny word. Um, it means kindergarten. Gan Yadim and Gan Halavar, I think it is. There's two kindergartens in Israel. And they actually teach them how to read in kindergarten. So you have two kindergartens. Uh, so Gan Yeladim is for children, Yeladim children. Gone for children. It's the kindergarten, the school, the kindergarten. If you go to the zoo in Jerusalem, they got most of the biblical animals. An example in the zoo. I don't like zoos. I don't think it's fair to the animal, but you go there and it's called Gan Coyote. Coyote means animals. Then you got Gan Eden. You know, if I was going to talk about my yard, I would say Gan. Ganshuli, my yard, my garden. So the thought again, one more time, and I could be wrong. This is all brand new to me. I'm proposing it to you, and ask the Lord about it, and I'll ask the Lord about it too. If Gan Eden, the New Jerusalem, and it's up there, and Yeshua went to prepare a place for us, and the people he led captive, he brought them back into New Jerusalem, which is it's right by heaven because God walked into it to be with Adam and Eve. So I guess it's probably very close or adjacent, or maybe it's even inside heaven. It could be just a section in heaven that the people live. I don't know. Okay, I'm guessing here, but I'm trying to make educated guesses. So they're in there, and then it comes down to earth, and that could explain the people that appear to be. Well, let me find you that scripture. Uh, you want to talk about a hard Bible study? I stumbled into this one today. It's this about as hard gets. Okay, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I could always create maybe something, but I mean, it'd be really hard to find founded on some basis of truth, or maybe, is something like this as hard as this. This is really hard. See, we look through a glass darkly. We don't see everything clearly. I think it's Revelation 9. Let me read this. Hold on. Let me search where the verse is. I'll let AI find it. It's quicker. Where is the verse in Revelation where the saints are, I think, on Mount Zion with Yeshua, talks about virgins? Revelation 14, 1-5. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion. That would be in Jerusalem near the temple. The temple actually be on top of it. And with 144,000 having his father's name in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Okay, so they're redeemed from the earth. That doesn't sound like they came down from heaven, does it? Whoops, where did this thing go? It's a stinking iPad. Oh, that lousy iPad. Okay. Oh my gosh, this thing is just jumping around like crazy. Let me get out of here. Go to Uh, Revelation 14. I just read it on fighting a stinking iPad. Okay. It's oversensitive. So I was in verse 3, I think. I'm in 15. This stupid iPad. Okay, let's go to 14. iPads are really good for people that have low vision, and they're really bad for a lot of things. Okay, and they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Oh, redeemed from the earth. Yeah, that's not redemption. We're not redeemed from the earth when Yeshua appears. Okay, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they. Stinking iPad, stinking piece of trash. I tell you, these iPad people are the worst. All right. Let me start. I got to go to verse 4. It jumps around. It jumped me into the next chapter. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. Are these the dead that came up and walked around when Yeshua rose from the dead? But the 144,000 is a spiritual number. It's a pretty large number. I don't know. Verse 5. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Uh, They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. So it would appear that it could be they were in New Jerusalem and they followed the Lamb when he brought New Jerusalem down to earth. We know he's sitting at the right hand of God the Father until he comes down to earth. So, yeah, you know, it does lend itself. So we would be eternal with them. We would live eternally like them. So we wouldn't be mortals. That would have to change us somewhat. Okay. Perhaps we would have a body like Yeshua's, where he changed his appearance and he went through walls. He had a body, he could eat fish, but yet he could change his appearance and walk through walls. We would, I assume, have something like that. When you see him, you will be like him. So we would be like him. 1 John 3:2. When you see him, you'll be like him. So I guess that would make sense. I'm not sure what the 144,000 could be. It could be the 12 tribes times the 12 apostles, and then 1,000 for completeness, or 1,000 for the millennium, or I don't know. We don't have everything yet. We'll soon get a lot more, believe me, but we don't have everything right now. But this sounds like a pretty decent theory. Okay. If I could break it, then it's no good. But so far, it just gets stronger. And I just came across this morning. So it's all brand new to me. I haven't really had a lot of time to study it, but it sounds pretty good. I keep trying to work on the book, but I don't think the Lord's pushing me for the book now. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It could be that I'm waiting for something and I don't know what I'm waiting for. I have a feeling that could be it too. I'm not sure what I'm waiting for, but I think I'm waiting for something. So this certainly was an unexpected Bible study today. Let me take a look at, and don't be afraid to send offerings in. That's what keeps us going. Okay. Let me see if we got any questions or things I got to deal with in the chat. Take the oil and leave a parking lot. It's a good thought, but I don't know how you could do that because you need to get the oil wells and the refinery and stuff like that. It's going to wind up as a parking lot, but not. It's going slower than we all thought it would, but it's in Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34. Iran is called Elam there. That was what its name was. Okay. So I'm not getting any prayer requests or anything I need to answer. So, okay, I'm going to do a prayer for us and then some spiritual warfare for us. Okay. My heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers that we would have your peace, safety, protection, calm, rest, joy, and you would give us more discernment, faith, and wisdom. And I pray that we would have strength, stamina, and endurance from you, and your healing and recuperative power would be in us, healing us as needed. And I pray for us and our animals and pets to be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray if any of us need a different house or a home in general, you would find that for us. And I pray for um if we need a job, you would get us a job, a good job. If we need more clients or customers for our businesses or self-employment, you would help us get that too. I pray we have adequate finances and then some extra. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we would understand the scriptures better. I pray that you would help me do a better job in the teaching and in the broadcasts and uh, doing the translations. You would help me more with that. And I pray for more help and, with the pursuit of the welfare with the public and the private entities here in the land. And I pray all this to you, my heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and a spiritual warfare. My heavenly Father, Jehovah, I loose from me and my wife and any of the true believers and their families and or households. Any unclean spirit in any of these people is immediately out of them, never to return again, ever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with all these as a believer in Yeshua's name. And for me and my wife and all the true believers in their households and families, if there should be any witchcraft, sorcery, spells directed at any of these people, they're cast null and void, of no value, no effect forever, shall never return, and shall never return in a similar fashion. And these commands are set in place irrevocably, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. Okay. So today started out as a cute little tidbit, and it opened up a whole big thing, and it was good. I mean, it was good. Okay. So that's what I got. And might want to pray the Lord shows me more about writing the book. I'm not sure what's going on, but every day I say, okay, I'll write on the book today. I'll start, and he's take it easy, take it easy, So don't know. Anyway, you're getting the teachings. I'm giving you the teachings, so you're getting that. You're just maybe not getting it in book form, but you could always go back and get the transcripts out of YouTube and cut and paste them, and you'd have it in book form. Uh, I intend to keep doing this with opening up more revelations through the language. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and